Hello and welcome to The Big Fight, where today we are once again returning to a really big problem that this nation faces. Actually, it's not just this nation, the entire region seems to be facing it, and that, of course, is Pakistan. And once again, we've had a situation of an attack on our Jawans, 2 soldiers being mutilated. But this is not just here and now. This is a problem that has continued and continued and continued for a very long period. And it's not just India which is complaining about it. Afghanistan is, and many other countries are as well. I think what I would like to do on this particular program is try and figure out what the right solutions are. What is the way forward? Because sometimes it feels, look, we all know that there's a problem. We all feel that there's a problem out here. All of us obviously love our country. We love the flag. We love our army. We love our soldiers. All of that is obvious. It is given. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Where the disagreement comes in is to try and find the specific solutions of how we should deal with Pakistan. Because let's face it, many of the things that we've been trying to do for a long, long period of time clearly haven't been working. Let me just show you some of the things that haven't been working, and then I'll ask the panel whether any of them actually feels that those are still viable solutions. For example, Kadi Ninda. Now, we can keep on doing Kadi Ninda of Pakistan, and we can keep on complaining about what it is that Pakistan does and saying it's ridiculous. Is Pakistan going to listen? I don't know. I'm not that sure about that. That doesn't necessarily work. Doing nothing at all, just ignoring Pakistan, well, we would hope that that would work, but it isn't, because Pakistan doesn't want to be ignored. So even if you try and ignore Pakistan, like a petulant child in a corner, it will eventually keep coming inside and bothering you. So that doesn't necessarily work. Then you have the option of shouting at Pakistan in TV studios like this. And that's something which is a lot of fun, I'm sure, and it's great for TRPs, and you can scream abuse at Pakistan and at human rights activists and everyone. That's also a viable way to go forward, but it's more entertainment. It's not necessarily something that is either deterring Pakistan or making them think that, my God, people are shouting at me in TV studios in India, so I must change my policy. That's not necessarily viable either. There are other solutions, but before I come to that, let me just introduce my panel now and see if they think that any of these is actually a viable option. And it's great to have with me on this particular program Major General G.D. Bakshi. Pleasure to have you with us, sir. Pawan Khera of the Congress Party, Sambit Patra of the BJP, and Sambit, let's have a more peaceful big fight than we did last week, same time, same show. So great to have you joining us. Dr. Brahma Chilani, one of the top strategic thinkers that we have, and Shivam Vij, who's also been writing about Kashmir and about needing to do things in a slightly different manner. Before I come to other possible solutions, the things which I just said, this is some of the stuff that we've been trying all this time. Are any of them viable options going forward?
Look, the constituency you have to address in Pakistan is the one that makes the decisions. That is the Pakistan Army. The Pakistani civilian establishment is just a facade, and the facade has gone even weaker than it was. So you have to speak to the Pakistani army in a language that it understands. That is the language of force. Forget covert force. Start using overt force.
Okay.
The world over, I just like to say one thing. Look at the standards of force usage the world over against terrorism and counter-terrorist action. The USA just fired 60 cruise missiles, each with a 1,000-pound warhead. Then it fired the mother of all bombs in Afghanistan. You've seen what the Russians did in Syria. What is their level of weapon usage? You've seen the weapon usage pattern of the Pakistan army in FATA, in Northwest Frontier Province, Sri Lanka. Why are we reducing ourselves to a lathi police force? Use your force.
But Syria doesn't have nukes, FATA doesn't have nukes, the Afghans don't have nukes, the Taliban doesn't have nukes. The reason they're not doing exactly this to North Korea, for example, is because North Korea has nukes. So Pakistan and North Korea, 2 examples of roguish nations with nukes. And so people tend to handle them slightly differently. That's what I'm sure the government will say, but I'll come to that in a couple of minutes. The other things, doing nothing, shouting at Pakistan on TV studios, or Kadi Ninda, is that going to have an effect on the Pakistani army?
Kadi Ninda chhod dijiye, please. Bharsana chhod dijiye. Kadi maar mariye. Please. This is the soldier's view.
All these countries which General Bakshi mentioned, they also don't have a General Bakshi there. So I'm not sure whether these things will work. It's very interesting that studio hawks come and talk war, not realizing the ground realities. We've been through wars. Has it solved the Pakistan problem? As Sambit and I were in a debate yesterday, we were discussing this. Bangladesh was created. Did it really solve the Pakistan issue permanently? No, it didn't. So it has to be a very holistic approach. It has to be a combination of diplomatic efforts, ongoing diplomatic efforts. It requires a lot of patience, but it is required. War is not an answer for everything.
Okay. War is one of the solutions that has been put on the table. So let's table it for the moment, and I'll come back.
Operation short of war.
Operation short of war.
Look,
overt
sort of
operation
now
short
come
of
down
war.
from war to a
Okay, so there's
something
war
else.
is an option. So I'm just taking the solution.
But just a minute. I think a very personal remark has been passed that I am an armchair strategist. I would just like to remind
you. I'm saying
I would like to remind.
No,
can I finish?
I also know about your thesis on China, so let's not talk about that.
I would like to just remind.
No, let's not get personal. I'm just saying.
Can I just have a word?
Studio hawks.
Pawan, let him
if he wants to call himself a studio hawk, he's welcome.
Okay.
No, I just spent 37 years. Most of them were in combat.
We all know where.
Thank
so
you.
let's forget that.
Sorry, where?
Where all we know that. So you don't have to remind everyone.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Sambit, I'm trying to put a range of basket of solutions and we can try and go into it. Kadi Ninda, government does saying Kadi Ninda, not just this government, previous governments, all governments, they'll have to say, we will teach Pakistan a lesson. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are asking, including your supporters. And by the way, you're in a slightly tricky situation because your supporters are among those who were the most vociferous during UPA 1 and UPA 2 in saying we must have a strong response. Now you're in power. It's your government. So therefore, everyone's looking at you.
I personally very firmly believe that viability is inversely proportional to visibility. If an option is most viable one, it should be the least visible one, because that is what is most important in diplomacy. That is what is most important in strategy. I remember day before yesterday in some TV studio, the anchor almost got on me saying that you have to tell us the strategy as to how Pakistan would be broken into 4 states. It would be broken into 4 tukde. And you have to tell us as to how Indian government is going to in fact take Baluchistan out of Pakistan. Now, if I'm going to say, I do not know as a petty spokesperson, I'm just a Karyakarta of the party, I don't think anyone would be knowing what the strategy of the Indian government would be. Only a few would be knowing.
You should have asked the TV anchor to feel free to go and invade
you
Pakistan.
all do it and we all answer. This is how...
Can you see an army of Obi-Wans invading through the Rajasthan desert, you know?
It's okay. That's how TV functions. And we all have to live in this TV age by these questions, and we have our own answers also. But the bigger question is, and a very sensible answer is, that visibility of a viable option is least. If you are working to see to it that Pakistan ke tukde honge, then it's but natural that strategists would agree to the fact that these are not to be discussed in TV studios, nor the ones who are being called to the TV studios would be knowing any of these options. Secondly, Kadi Ninda. See, as far as this word, which has become a fanciful word not only in the Twitter and the social media world, but also with the anchors, that Kadi Ninda. It is an era of Hindi-speaking politicians, we have Kadi Ninda. There was an era of English-speaking politicians, we had no business as usual. So, no business as usual never found, it was a tongue twister.
And now there's a new one coming up. We will respond at a time and place of our choosing.
See,
another one.
Again, when the army said, you are right, when the army said recently, when the defense minister gave out a statement immediately after the dastardly act of mutilation of the bodies, he categorically said that the army, we have confidence on the army, and the army will take the revenge. It will avenge the death. And the army came out with a statement saying that, well, yes, we will avenge the death, but it would be time of our own, place of our own choosing, a manner of our own. Yeah. So naturally, they have to limit words so that most of it is understood. But they cannot go on with a paragraph saying that, well, this is what we are going to do.
Okay,
because
so
if they are
whatever
to do, they
the response is, okay, I get your point that whatever the response is, it cannot be revealed in TV studios, and I certainly am not going to do it, even if you were the...
I would not be knowing it, by the way.
Okay, even if you're the Chief of Army Staff, I would not ask you that how are you planning to specifically tell me which areas are you going to fire the next shell. It's a silly thing to do. But I'm just trying to understand what the basket and the menu of options is. And Prabhat Chilani, let me get you in on that. Basket of options, do nothing, shout at Pakistan TV studios, say Kadi Ninda. We've heard one other option that actually have war or covert action just short of war. Anything else that you can think of?
Well, the options or the strategy or the current policy that you have alluded to, what is the result of that? India today confronts complete deterrence failure vis-a-vis Pakistan. complete deterrence failure.
And they know it, which is worse.
Exactly.
They know it, that we will make a lot of noise, we will shout about it, there'll be lots of TRP generating hysteria on TV studios, but at the end of it, nothing's going to happen. And that's really what the problem is.
Exactly. Now, we hyped the so-called surgical strike of last September. But let's face it, that was well within the tolerance limits of the Pakistani military. For deterrence to work, India should be ready to impose sustained punitive costs on Pakistan's military generals, costs that they find too prohibitive, too painful. Now, the cost can be imposed not necessarily through direct use of force. That's one option. But if a country can't even impose diplomatic and economic pain on an adversary, ask yourself, can that country use overt force repeatedly in a sustained fashion? India hasn't shown the political will even to impose the smallest of small sanctions on Pakistan. They have not tried to downsize the Pakistan High Commission's staff strength in New Delhi. India has not tried to wage economic warfare on Pakistan, diplomatic warfare, cyber warfare. There are a host of options that a country can utilize. The toolkit is large. It is not just about force.
Interesting. So we are now getting some more practical suggestions emerging out here. Sanctions of some sort or the other. So yes, that's another basket of options. So let's just tote it up. I've got this graphic that is coming up here, but I'm toting up everything that people are saying. Shivam, before I go across to Pakistan, what is your take?
You see, this is 7 decades old problem. It's one of the world's bloodiest conflicts. We have seen wars, we've seen covert action, we've seen a hot LOC. These kind of incidents used to happen very often until 2003. The point is that neither India nor Pakistan actually want to solve. What is the solution is the second question. The first question is, do you even want to solve a problem? And I don't see the will there, the political will in either India or Pakistan across establishments and governments. You know, even if you do war or covert option, there is, or economic warfare or whatever, there's politics and life after that. Where do you go from there? There is no idea, there is no game plan, because actually they only want to manage this conflict, they don't want to solve it.
You want to manage the conflict and not solve it, and then neither side really wants to get down to doing what needs to be done to solve it.
Terrorist outrages are not a 7-decade-old problem. This is an undeclared, unconventional war that Pakistan is waging, independent of the Kashmir dispute. So let's not confuse the picture.
Let's face it, there is an internal dimension to Kashmir also, but the two are linked. The fact is that yes, Pakistan utilizes Kashmir and ratchets up the pressure on that, and let's face it, if it has lasted for 7 decades, all of us pay the price for it, but frankly, no one pays the price more than the soldiers who are out there on the border. We've seen the families and what they had to go through earlier this week. So just allowing business as usual to continue, because as Shivam says, nobody can really think of a proper way of handling it.
Kashmir is a symptom, not the cause of Pakistan's congenital hostility towards India. Let's not confuse the picture. If Pakistan was the cause, then the debate would be different. The Pakistani generals have stated publicly that even if Kashmir issue were to be resolved, Pakistan's India problem will not go away.
Okay, fair enough. Can I just ask you something? I just want to read for you. Now, I tell you the sort of an issue that you're going to start facing at some point. I'm just going to read for you some of the comments that have been made, which have been made right now on this situation with Pakistan. Here's one comment. Who will save us from the antics of Pakistan? Despite the Mumbai attacks, the Congress is still asleep. Nawaz Sharif is talking of a fourth war over Kashmir. So far, Pakistan wanted terror and talks to coexist, so now will war and talks coexist? Then you should declare today itself that there will be no talks with Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. All limits have been closed by now. Then Pakistan should be paid back in the same coin. Stop writing love letters to Pakistan. Pakistan is an expert in lying. Then Pakistan should be given a befitting reply in the same manner. India must give it back to the terrorists in the only way that they understand. Then our soldiers were beheaded by Pakistan. This one particularly will ring a bell right now. Our soldiers were beheaded by Pakistanis, but our foreign minister went to Jaipur and served biryani for Pakistani guests. This is akin to rubbing salt on the wounds of the nation. You want to take a guess as to who said all of that?
No, I understand. I know that, and you can pull out a few comments
I'm
now.
going to put those graphics back on with the people who said it. A lot of those comments were actually made by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. You should declare itself today that there should be no talks with Pakistani Prime Minister. That was Rajnath Singh. War and talk cannot coexist with Arun Jaitley. So, are you being painted into a bit of a box right now? And this is one question that I wanted to ask you. Your supporters, your key supporters, whether it is on television channels or on social media or even within the party, will be pushing you for a very muscular response. And then some in the government may say, well, maybe we can't really do this because it is a nuclear state.